Hey everyone, Mike McClary here from Amazing.com, and today I'm going to be talking to you about finding suppliers for your Amazon FBA business. As we all know, finding the right product is the first and most important part to having a successful Amazon private label business. But once you find the right product, you have to find the right supplier who can make that product for you. Having a bad supplier might actually make a really good product opportunity look bad because you just think that the product ended up being of low quality and you don't want to go forward with it. But having a great supplier can really make the difference between your business being successful or not. Now, there's a couple things you want to keep in mind when you're looking for suppliers. First thing is going to be your budget. Now, we all have budgets. Everyone has limits, especially when starting out on Amazon, as to what you want to invest in your first inventory order. Usually we recommend somewhere around between $2,000 and $5,000. That gives you enough amount of inventory in order to have a successful launch. Instead of just thinking about it from a money perspective, also think about it from a units perspective. We recommend starting out with a minimum of 300 units. So hopefully you can get at least 300, preferably even a little more, with a budget somewhere between $2,000 and $5,000, and that should give you plenty to get started with when you're first starting out on Amazon. The next thing you want to keep in mind as well is that you'll have to take into account shipping. So you'll be working with your supplier in order to have a quote from them to figure out exactly how much they can make these products for you, but that's not the total cost of the product because you still have to get it imported, most likely if you're ordering from China, and then shipped all the way to either your own warehouse or a warehouse you work with, or to Amazon themselves. Shipping right now, we're in September 2021, where I'm recording this. Shipping is at an all-time high right now. It might be when you're watching this, shipping prices have normalized. We're hoping that's going to happen, but the pandemic has caused some disruptions in the entire shipping industry, not just for Amazon sellers, but for all types of retail, not even just e-commerce, but any type of retail where you're buying physical products. Shipping has turned everything on its head right now. We just met with one of the top shipping and sourcing experts that I've met in my history of selling on Amazon. And the issue kind of rose from when a lot of the warehouses in the United States, when they were receiving products, they had to shut down some warehouses because they may have had a positive COVID case. And so the entire warehouse was shut down. So instead of these freights, these ocean freighters coming in and unloading their containers into these warehouses, they had to stop and wait out at port. And as more and more warehouses were shut down, more and more of these liners were waiting outside of the port, and they couldn't unload anything. And so instead of these containers being unloaded into the warehouses and then going back to China to receive more products, they were stuck. So there's this huge supply and demand issue with the containers, not the products, but the containers themselves, that has disrupted the entire industry. So shipping is a really important part of the business. So once even you find your supplier for your product, make sure you have enough money left over to ship that product to wherever you want to get it to as well. The third thing you want to keep in mind when looking for a supplier is to make sure that they can private label or customize your product for you. I actually have an example right here. This is a flashlight. A little piece just shut off right there. This has not been scripted, so this is a flashlight. Actually, one that I launched about 6 years ago that failed miserably because it had all types of quality issues. But this is just your typical flashlight. We actually kind of made this one a little bit different. But when you want to create your own brand, you want to be able to private label it. And to do that, it can be as simple as buying a flashlight like any of one of a dozen suppliers can make for you, and just being able to print a logo on here. Like right here, we have the word Titan. That was the name of this flashlight, the Titan Power Bank and Flashlight. And any supplier can take one of their existing flashlights or whatever the product is and pretty easily put a logo on there. But you want to make sure that you're working with suppliers who can do things like that, because otherwise you're just buying another company's brand name and selling that to other people on Amazon. That type of business model is actually wholesaling other people's products. It is a viable business model. We found that it's not as scalable, not as profitable. So we always want to make sure that we are buying products that we can private label, put our own logo on, and turn into a real brand. I will actually go over and show you some wholesale sites as well. If you're interested in that, there are sites where you can go out there and buy other branded products, usually for pretty low quantities, and sell them. Again, we just find that it's not very profitable to do that. If you have your budget in mind for your products, you know you can get at least 300 units. You also know that you have to incorporate and pay for shipping as well. And you're looking for a company that can private label your products. If that's what you're looking for, then that's the three pieces of information you need to have ready to go before you go looking for suppliers. Now, I'm going to go in the opposite order here. I'm going to talk about wholesaling and how to find some good suppliers for that. Again, this isn't our preferred method at Amazing.com. We like to private label, but if you're looking to wholesale, I'm going to show you a couple things. So here I am on a site called AliExpress. It's a company owned by Alibaba as well, which I'll talk about when I talk about private label. But AliExpress allows you to buy products in very small quantities. And even though you may be able to find some of the suppliers on here who will put a logo and private label it for you, typically people or sellers on AliExpress won't do that. They're going to just sell you one of their own products that has their own brand on it, and then you can sell them to people on your own website, on Amazon as well. But it's a great place to get started if you have a very small budget, you don't care about private labeling, and you just want to order one or two products. Now, there's a couple of sites that do very similar things. DHgate is another site as well. Now these, you can typically place much larger orders and get quantity discounts, but again, you can't really private label on DHgate. The same thing for another company called Global Sources. They also do a lot of wholesale sales, business to business, so you can sell your products wholesale online. And then the last one is actually one that I hadn't heard of, but one of our researchers found this. Banggood is another company that allows you to reach out to other suppliers and order products in bulk so that you could sell them wholesale as well. So those four: AliExpress, DHgate, then Global Sources, and Banggood. Four good options for doing wholesale. Again, we don't want to focus on that because what I want to focus on is doing private label. Now, if you're looking to build your own brand of products and sell them on Amazon, like so many thousands of our students have, Alibaba.com is the place to go. About 80% of the products that you'll find sold on Amazon can be sourced from Alibaba.com because these are primarily companies that are manufacturing in China, and they are hungry for sellers like us looking to use them to make products in order to private label the products, their products out there and sell them under your own brand name. As a matter of fact, a lot of the sellers are dropping off right now because shipping is so high. They're kind of dropping out of this business model, meaning that the suppliers are really hungry for more sellers right now. So it's a great time to get involved with them. So let's imagine you wanted to go and look for your own brand of products you could sell on Alibaba. It's as simple as going to Alibaba.com and then typing in whatever product you want. So for example, let's say that we wanted to sell our own flashlight. We could type in flashlight, hit enter, and then within a few seconds, as long as the internet's working the way we want it to, it's going to start pulling up thousands of suppliers that can make flashlights for you. Now, one thing you'll want to do is look for a type of flashlight that just has the same look and feel as the one that you want to sell. They're going to show you a lot of pictures of the products here. These first ones don't, but as we get down here, this flashlight's a typical black flashlight with a power button on it. Go down further, there's another black one. Then they get some other colored ones, but I could scroll and scroll forever and see thousands of sellers of flashlights. But there's a few tricks you can use on Alibaba to really refine your list of suppliers down to the very best. One thing I want to do is select the trade assurance button. What that's going to do is limit the suppliers that you find to only those that participate in a program called trade assurance. And what that does is that guarantees you or ensures you as a buyer of the products that the supplier you're working with is not only reputable, but they're going to create a product that you have ordered from them that meets your specifications. So it's going to be high quality. They're going to have it done on time. They're going to ship it out to you before they receive the money. So basically you place an order on Alibaba.com. You will pay Alibaba.com the money. They hold it. And then once the supplier is done manufacturing your product and it's been verified, then they finally release those funds to the supplier. You don't have to use trade assurance, but by filtering only the companies that participate in it, you're going to rule out those companies that don't want to be held to that level or that same standard where they know they're committed to getting the products done on time and meeting your expectations. That's why I like to filter out. Just know that a company that is willing to do that is one I'm more likely to want to work with. Also, I like checking the box that says verified supplier. This is another test that Alibaba does on your behalf. They actually do some research on the company that you're looking at to make sure that they are a legitimate, authentic company. They'll check their documentation, make sure that they're registered, they really are a manufacturer or a trading company, whatever they say they are, so that way, when you're looking and dealing with them, you know that this is a company that you can have some faith in again. So those two things right there, trade assurance, and verified supplier are going to really narrow down your list of potential suppliers to those that are ones that you could have a lot of faith and trust in are going to want to work with you. Now, Alibaba has a lot of great filters on the left-hand side, similar to what you might find on Amazon.com, to make sure that you can filter out companies that might be good companies to work with, but they don't meet your needs right now. So for example, if there's a company that requires you to order 5,000 units, and there are a lot of big manufacturers that do that, you may not want to deal with a company that has that big of a minimum order. So what I would use over here on the left-hand side is if I know that I can only order 500 units of a flashlight to get going, and I'm going to start with a flashlight that's going to cost $10 or less for me, because that's with my budget, then I can actually put in a minimum order of 500 over here and click OK. And it's going to go through and then filter out any of the other companies that require requirements higher than 500. Also, another trick that a lot of people don't use is using the prices over here. A lot of times when you're looking for suppliers, you don't necessarily know what price you're looking at. You're just looking at the lowest prices out there, which again can be pretty overwhelming, because even after I put these filters in we just did, there are thousands of suppliers still on Alibaba that I see, and it's a little overwhelming to find the right ones that meet my needs. But if I know that I have a $5,000 inventory budget, which I know is going to make me only want to get 500 units, then I need to keep my costs in that area. Now, a way to really make sure that you can make a profit out of this is a little rule of thumb that if you're going to be selling a product for X amount, you only want to pay a maximum of 1/3 that amount. So let's imagine that you are planning on selling a flashlight for $30. That means on Alibaba or wherever you're looking, you don't want to pay any more than $10 for that. Some people go even less, like 25%. But in order to make sure that I don't exclude any companies that might be good matches as well, I will just say that the maximum I'm willing to pay on Alibaba would be $10, knowing the type of product that I'm looking at. So I'm going to put in a maximum price of $10, and you do have to put a minimum over here, otherwise it won't give you the right the results you look for. Let's say a minimum of $1. And now I'm finally left with a much more manageable list of suppliers that are trade assurance, verified. They will accept a minimum order quantity as small as 500. And I know that the price or the cost that I'll be paying is no more than $10. And as I scroll through, I can go through here and start looking for flashlights that look like the type that I'm looking for. Maybe I'm looking for one that's one of these typical black flashlights. Maybe I'm looking for something a little more colorful. This one actually is kind of a lantern flashlight right there. That long strip you see right on the side is a way to make a flashlight look like a lantern. I've seen those as well. Haven't sold those yet, but I've seen them around. Then you can go through and there's actually the UV flashlights. So you can shine them on your pets and look for all kinds of, like, if they went to the bathroom on your carpet or something, you can kind of see that with those flashlights there as well. But all kinds of flashlights on here. But already, by using the filters that I put in here, you've probably removed 2/3 of the suppliers that you couldn't work with, at least right now, and limit it down to those that are really good potential suppliers for you. Now, once you find a product and supplier on here that meets your needs, the next step then is to communicate with the supplier. And there's certain things that you're going to want to ask the supplier when you're ready to place an order for them. First, you want to make sure that they can customize the product, that they will actually be able to private label it for you. Most people in Alibaba, most of the suppliers are looking for sellers like us. They know what we do. They know we're private labelers. That won't be a problem. But you will want to verify that they can that they can put a logo on the product for you and also offer custom packaging as well. You'll want to verify that whatever the prices they're going to offer you at your minimum order quantity. So if you know that you can order 500 units, then what is their price at 500 units? Another trick that I like to do is also ask them for their prices at 2 tiers above that. So if my first order is 500 units, I'd like to know what kind of discount they're going to give me when I order 1,000 units as my business grows, and then maybe another discount they're going to give me when I order 5,000 units. Even if I'm not at the position right now where I can really place those orders, I want them to know that I'm already thinking ahead to growing my business and giving them more business. And also I want to know how much I'm really going to be able to increase my potential profits with as I grow the business as well. Now, after that, you also want to make sure that they can ship you a sample, because when you do find a supplier, you'll probably want to find 3 different suppliers to really make sure that you find the right one for you. But you'll want to get a sample from each one of the potential suppliers so you can compare the samples among each of the suppliers. Having a high quality product is critical in today's business. Reviews are so critical on Amazon. and reviews are based a lot on the customer's expectations and the quality of the product. So you want to make sure that the quality you're getting from a supplier is top notch. You always want to be as good, if not better, than the top seller for whatever product that you're looking at. So that's why getting a sample from each one of the suppliers you're looking at is critical. And again, I get it from 3 different ones. You'll have to spend anywhere between 40 to 50 bucks for those samples, including shipping. And it may sound like a lot of money upfront, but it's money well spent because it will help make sure that you pick the right supplier with the best quality product. You also want to find out what kind of payments they accept. Most suppliers will accept wire transfers from your bank. Sometimes they call it a T/T payment, just, that's what they refer to it as. But then some of them do accept PayPal. Some accept credit cards, not very many, but if they do, you'll have to pay the credit card processing fee, usually about 3%. And then again, if you want to use trade assurance, then you'll end up paying Alibaba, usually with a bank transfer or credit card, and then they'll wire the funds to the supplier right there. So you just want to make sure what type of methods they accept to make sure there's no issues. Like, for example, if you absolutely will not or don't want to do a wire transfer, you'll want to make sure that whatever supplier you work with does have the options available that you are comfortable working with, such as trade assurance or using a credit card. Then, once you've narrowed it down to the couple suppliers that you're willing to work with, they've answered the questions about what their pricing is, they can do private labeling and logos, and they also accept the payment method you want, then I would place an order from 3 different suppliers. You want to get those samples in. It'll take about a week or 2 for those samples to arrive. And then you want to evaluate those samples among each other to determine which is the product and supplier that you'll end up going with. Keep in mind that when you have the 3 samples, if 2 or 3, or maybe they all might be great quality, that's great. None of them might be great quality. If that's the case, that's fine. Even though you may have spent money getting those samples and may feel like you wasted money, you've saved your business a lot of potential pains and loss of profits in the future, so it's money well spent. If that happens, go out and find some more suppliers using exactly what we talked about here and get more samples from them until you find at least one sample from a supplier that is high quality and also will sell it to you for a price that allows you to make a profit. Now, if you are torn between a few different suppliers and the pricing isn't the number one factor you're looking at, of course, that's always the most appealing way to determine which supplier to go with. But if you do have some that are very similar, the next thing I go with is how easy it was to work and communicate with the suppliers. Now, most suppliers that you'll find on Alibaba, if you're living in the US or in an English-speaking company, in an English-speaking country, they're not going to speak, English natively like you or I do, but they usually speak pretty good English. Their foreign language capabilities are absolutely much better than mine. So just keep that in mind. That's not their first language. So as long as you can communicate effectively back and forth, that's something you want to weigh in on your decision there. You want to make sure that you can at least ask them questions and get clear responses back and in a timely fashion. And then the other thing when comparing your suppliers, you are building a relationship here that you may have for years or decades to come. So you want to really get a feel for the supplier that they're willing to work with you. It doesn't mean that they're going to give in on single thing you ask for. They probably won't lower the prices on your first order until they build a relationship with you. But you want to get a feel from them that they're willing to work with you, especially on future orders as your business grows, because this is going to be something that will be a part of your business that will be critical to you growing your own private label Amazon FBA business. Once you then find the right supplier, you place your order, then all that comes down to is finalizing your logo, packaging, sending them a deposit, which is usually 30%. And then after the products are done and manufactured, you'll pay the balance of that and have the products shipped to you, either to your house, to a warehouse you work with, or to Amazon FBA. So that's it for this lesson on how to find the best supplier for your Amazon FBA business. If you want to learn more and see other videos that we have here at Amazing.com, please subscribe to this channel. So take care, and I'll see you in another lesson.